I am totally illiterate.
Philosophy is easy. Anyone could do it.
Totally illiterate.
Hello, zoo citizens. Today I'm going to talk about note taking. I think this is the single most important skill you can cultivate to get better at philosophy, not just deconstruction, but all post-structuralism, really anything difficult that is presented to you in analytic prose. Okay, so you don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. This is my method. This is my strategy I use when I'm teaching a text or I'm publishing on a text. But you do need to develop something that works for you, that allows you to produce notes that spark joy, that you can revise, that you can look at in the future, and that are useful to a future version of yourself. You can't expect yourself to retain on a first reading without repetition things as complicated as the text that we talk about on this channel. So step one are your first blush notes. So this is really taking notes as you read. So maybe after each paragraph, if you can, listing key claims, noting key terms. So if terms keep coming up, if there are key relationships between terms. So if you're reading over and over that one term seems coded positive, another term seems coded negative, and they're opposed to each other, even if you don't know what those terms mean, you can remember that relationship. You don't need to fill in the meaning of every term. And in fact, if you try to, reading some of this stuff, you're never going to get anywhere. So this is something you do as you read, whatever you read. You want to be pretty relaxed with yourself about this. Don't demand complete sentences from yourself. Don't demand totally logical statements, right? This is just to start getting a sense of what are the key issues, key terms, and key lavers of what's going on, okay, in this text. So the step two is going to be you trying to figure out what you have retained. So maybe the next day, or at the very least, having taken some sort of break. So maybe take a break, come onto the channel, and donate. So take a break, donate, and then come back and try to regurgitate what happened in this text. So you read a big text, say like you read Signature Event Context by Derrida. Like you read the whole essay, you take paragraph by paragraph notes. So put the text away and try to explain to yourself in like a new Word document or a new notes file what was going on in this text. What was the deal with signature, event, and context, for example? If the text has a central thesis, what was it? What were some of the key arguments that repeated? See how much you can remember. It's sort of like flashcarding with languages. You're trying to test what you retain. You're always going to overestimate how much you retain in anything you're reading. That's just the nature of learning these sorts of complex, abstract, technical apparatuses of reading, like deconstruction. So you're always going to overestimate how much Derrida or Hegel or Deleuze you retain. So you always want to try to have this step of testing yourself. Okay. So the third step is sort of the most exciting and the most it can in a certain way be the most extreme. It's an assignment that I give in my courses, and I'll show you the assignment in a moment, as well as an example that I did when I was in college. But you want to translate the text, every movement of the text, every argument of it into your own words in a section by section or paragraph by paragraph structure. So you want to end up having something that has every argument and every key point translated. So not in an essay form, you want to avoid long sentences, you just want to be punchy, just claim, reason, stakes, claim, reason, stakes, that sort of thing. But you want them to be logical clauses, and if you can, sort of colloquial or more, you want some less formal idioms and ways of thinking so that your brain can practice translating what you're talking about into other idioms. So jokes, blog post style, talking to your friends, talk to your grandparents, all these different ways of speaking are different registers. And the more you translate the arguments, the better you're going to get at grasping it and deploying it in a new situation. So I'm going to show now the outline assignment. So this was a really useful assignment, I thought, and it seemed like students did too. But this is just what I just described, step 3 of in the context of Spinoza's ethics. So you don't worry about punctuation, you don't worry about an original argument, you just want the argumentative architecture replicated in another form that will be useful to a future version of yourself. And the goal is to be total. You want it totally translated into your outline. You do not want your opinion or your take on it or to be a partial translation. You want it to be able to stand in for the text itself. That's the goal of this exercise. So the process of doing this is a pretty simple, just step 3 repeat sort of thing. You type into your outline, or you type into your doc, wherever you're recording. What do you remember? What's the argument in this or that section? What's the argument in this or that paragraph? Then you go back and you reread what you were just trying to outline and say, did you miss something? Did you imagine something that's not there? Then you go back to the outline and you correct any difference, and you try to eliminate all difference between your translation and the original text. You do this over and over and over again until you have an outline in your own words that repeats in a as perfect as possible translation the original text. So the example I have below, I'll just show you for a few moments, but this is an amazing text called Hegelianism Without Reserve. It's in Writing Indifference. It's one of the big Derrida texts on Hegel. But this is the style that is desirable to be in, or that I find desirable to be in. So like, I was using these dashes here, but so I have this section. So this is a section, this is like a page and a half, 2 pages, if I remember correctly, of Derrida. And so I'm trying to say in my own words what this preface is about. I'm trying to outline the main claims, right? And then continuing, I take this next section and try to move through it in the same sort of way. I try to speak colloquial. I say lols a bunch. I think I have other sorts of different expressions that I try to translate. I could have translated probably into more idioms, might have been a way to do it a little bit better. But this all makes sense to me and is something I feel like I could read to anybody. It's why I showed it to students. So this keeps going on and going on. It'll be a few pages. And then I have this outline whenever I want to go back and work on this text, or whenever I want to think about Hegel and Derrida, that just functions just about perfectly for me. So I hope that was helpful. I think probably if I had to pick one thing, gun to my head, that was the most helpful for learning philosophy, it would be developing a reasonably disciplined note structure. So thank you, and good luck.